So I wanted to talk about this play real fast because there's something I don't think people are talking about that kind of needs to be mentioned. And it's the fact that, and we see this all the time, by the way, not just from this situation right here, but whenever a quarterback gets hit, either after the whistle or in this situation, it was a late hit. It wasn't after the whistle, but it was a late hit. You see the offensive linemen retaliate, right? Sometimes it's pushing and shoving. Sometimes it's like, screaming and yelling. And sometimes it resolves in full-on fights. And the whole point is, you hit my quarterback. You did that to my quarterback. I'm going to go after you, right? I'm going to attack you. And we see it all the time. But it feels like for our offensive line, this has happened now for a couple years, we don't have that, I don't want to say dog in us, but we don't have that retaliation. So this was the late hit on Joe Burrow, right? So if I play this here, you can see Myles Garrett comes in, smashes Joe Burrow, and just gets absolutely demolished, right? This is a late hit. It's not after the whistle, but the ball was thrown out there, and Garrett foolhardily, that's roughing the passer, as he lays his whole entire body into Joe Burrow. And the response in this type of situation, I feel like from a lot of teams, you would see the right guard, the right tackle, the left tackle, they would light Garrett up. Now, at the end of the day, they might lose this fight, but it's that mentality of it's not about winning. It's about sending a message. You don't hit our quarterback. You don't hit our guys. Right? And we saw this a couple years ago. You remember when Clowney went ahead and actually sacked Joe Burrow and took him out for the season with his wrist injury. There was no fight. There was no, oh, you hit my quarterback, I'm about to mess you up for doing that. And I feel like it happens pretty much across the league. We always see this. Now, I wanted to watch this back in two different versions. So right here we have the condensed version, which actually right here we have the condensed version, which obviously is, the TV version, right? So let's go ahead and see how this looks. Again, gets smashed on the play. And the reason why I wanted to look at this is I wanted to look at the offensive linemen and see where they were looking, right? Are they looking at the play, or are they looking at, or are they just not paying attention, right? Pretty much. So with the 22 version, it's a lot better to look at. So let me skip forward here to this other angle. This is the angle that I wanted to see, because this lets us be able to see where was the offensive lineman looking. So Garrett is about to hit Joe Burrow, right? Who is looking at Joe Burrow going to get hit? Fairchild, right? Rookie left guard. Orlando Brown's not looking. Neither is Teddy K. Neither is Dalton Reisner. Now, once Joe does get hit, you can see he gets smashed right here. Mims is looking. So Mims is going to watch him get smashed, and same thing with Fairchild. Now, this was a 3rd down and 9. Which, listen, you never want to get a 15-yard penalty. But if you're ever going to get a 15-yard penalty, a 3rd down and 9 is not the worst scenario. Because after this sack, it would have been after this incomplete pass, it would have been 4th down and 9. So if you got a 15-yard penalty on 4th and 9, it is what it is, right? 15-yard penalty on 4th and 9. That ends up giving you, maybe 15 less yards on a punt. But the point is you're sending a message. And it's not just to Myles Garrett. This is a message to the rest of the league. You hit my quarterback, I'm going to retaliate. You slam my quarterback late, I'm going to get in your face and retaliate. And now at the end of the day, again, Fairchild and Mims were the only one who really saw the hit. I'm sure they all saw the hit afterwards on the Jumbotron. And obviously now they're hearing about it after this. But it's, again, like I said, maybe this one play, they can get a pass. But this happens all the time. Whenever we play TJ Watt or we play other pass rushers, Myles Garrett, whoever, they hit Joe after the whistle so much. And after the whistle, or just a late hit in general. And the linemen, they need to get up and fight back. They need to retaliate. They need to send a message. Don't hit my quarterback. You see it all the time across the league. If Dak Prescott got hit after the play, there's going to be a fight. If Jalen Hurts got hit after the play, there's going to be a fight. For Pete's sake, if Mahomes got, hit after the play, the referees would get in and start fighting the players. I mean, you had the referees out there with shoulder pads and helmets trying to fight people if Mahomes got hit. I just feel like it doesn't happen for us. And this is one of those things where, again, your quarterback is literally your future, right? This is your job. Your job is to make sure number 9 does not get smashed on a play. Your job is to make sure number 9 is not hurt, doesn't get hit. So I kind of just want to see this kind of mentality. It needs to change. We need to stop this mentality of, okay, whatever. Because a 15-yard penalty is not the end of the world when you set an example, when you prove a point, when you say, hey, we're setting this principle moving forward. We're not letting you hit my quarterback anymore. Even if you lose a fight, even if you're going into it with, pretty much in a losing fight scenario, you just go into it and say, this is unacceptable. We're not allowing this anymore. Because, again, Joe takes one nasty hit. He's out for the season. Guess what? There goes the season. And those offensive linemen, there goes potentially your jobs. So, it's that mentality. This is something I haven't seen many people talk about. And it's it's really something that happens, I feel like, so much now at this point that we just kind of accept it as, okay, that it is what it is. But it's not right. Linemen, I'm not saying it's not your job, but it's it's an unwritten rule. You hit my quarterback, I'm going to retaliate. And every time I see it, in the NFL when I'm watching football, I'm always like, dude, why can't our offensive line do that? Why can't our offensive line retaliate the way that, this offensive line I'm watching on whatever football game I'm watching? I'm pretty sure if we hit Joe Flacco after the play, right, actually smash him like this, there would be some retaliation from the Cleveland Brownies. There would be absolutely some retaliation. Instead, it's, look, Mim's like, oh, let me help you up. Again, Joe gets smashed. Mim's right here. Mims is looking at the play. Fairchild's right here. You gotta retaliate. You gotta retaliate. And I'm not saying I want our guys to get into fights and get thrown out of games, and again, I'm not saying to punch the guy, but you just give some retaliation, even if it's a small one, right? Even if it's a little a shove or something, or just some talk back and forth. Even if it's just verbal retaliation, just hey, don't hit my quarterback like that. Something like that. Just something, man. I don't know. That was my main gripe. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's my main gripe. That you just need to have that little bit of oomph, that little bit of unacceptable behavior type of crap. But